Something interesting about World at War Zombies is just how untouched it is. As the mode evolved with each new DLC, none of the new or updated mechanics were ever added to the previous maps. Not even the glitches got fixed. It's something that I actually respect. I like that I can load up any of those 4 maps today and play them as if they had just come out. But since then, Treyarch has been making all sorts of changes to their future zombie maps. And I'm not just talking about bug fixes or cosmetic updates. I'm talking more about changes that affect the core gameplay. A lot of the time, it's because they've realized that they made the game too hard and need to rebalance things. The best example of this is from Black Ops 4, where just a few days after launch, the base health was increased by 50, and the points earned from a standard zombie kill was raised from 70 to 90. In Black Ops 3, a lot of the new Chronicles guns were given attachments to make up for the lack of weapon kit support, preventing them from underperforming compared to all the other guns, and a lot of different enemy types over the years have been reworked to make them more fair to fight. But on some occasions, the game has actually been made more difficult. In Black Ops 2, several guns had their recoil increased. In Cold War, the maximum zombie health was originally 30,000, but was then increased to 120,000, and then lowered to 60,000. And several weapons have been nerfed. Most notably is the Sliquifier from Die Rise. A couple of times, game-altering effects have been used to incentivize people to purchase DLC, like for buying Zombies Chronicles, your first Gobblegum purchase of every round will be free. Normally something like this would bother me because it's making the game easier, but a free Gobblegum every round actually feels right to me. And that's coming from somebody who doesn't use megas. I feel more inclined to keep hitting the machine and using more Gobblegums rather than just hoarding it in plain sight for the whole match. Similarly, by purchasing the Vengeance DLC pack for Black Ops 2, you were granted access to the Ray Gun Mark II on all of the maps. This was pretty significant, especially on the survival maps that didn't have a major wonder weapon, but they did put some restrictions in place so that it would not shake things up too much. Firstly, it's really rare. So rare that you'll question whether or not it's really in the game. I couldn't even get much footage of it for this video. You can't have both ray guns at a time, only one or the other, and if you do have one of them, you can't get the other from the box until you get rid of the first one. Also, the Mark II is pretty cool, so I'm glad to have it on all the maps. Don't worry, it's not all pay-to-win stuff. Sometimes game-altering rewards like these come from completing Easter eggs. The first time we saw something like this was way back on Call of the Dead, where by completing the main quest, George Romero will permanently drop a Wunderwaffe power-up instead of a death machine. This was always a part of the map since launch, but I do still count it as changing the game because you cannot undo it. But I don't have a problem with it because the Wunderwaffe feels much more appropriate for defeating George than a death machine. I would assume that it was always the intended reward anyway, but they probably locked the weapon away so that players would not discover it before finishing the Easter egg. Black Ops 3 would expand upon this idea, but in my opinion, not in a good way. For completing every main quest, you unlock the super Easter egg reward of spawning with an RK5 in addition to the starting pistol. In the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty minor thing. It only really affects the early rounds and you don't have to use it if you don't want to, so I'm not gonna pretend that it ruins the game. But as far as I can tell, there's no way to disable this, and I'm the kind of person who doesn't always want to start their match of zombies with an extra gun. It's honestly one of the main reasons I haven't even done the super Easter egg. That, and I don't have enough friends to beat Shadows of Evil, but also because of the RK5 thing. I would say that Treyarch's best super Easter egg was in Black Ops Cold War. You can find this altar on the map Zoo and Outbreak where you can make a pact with someone, which will increase the rarity of your starting weapon based on the number of Easter eggs that you have done, going all the way up to purple. This completely throws off the weapon balance of this game, but I don't care because it can be turned off. The process of doing so is a little annoying, and I wish it was just in the Create a Class menu, but I'm thankful that they didn't just force this upon me, and that I can still play the game the traditional way with a red starting weapon if I choose to. But don't get me wrong, Cold War is not entirely innocent. This game had the skills system, where you can spend crystals to permanently upgrade perks, weapons, ammo mods, and field upgrades. There are a total of 5 levels for everything, 3 being available at launch and 2 more added later. And to be fair, most of these upgrades do feel very balanced to me. They may be powerful and some are a little weird, but I wouldn't call them broken. But there is one that really annoys me. The melee upgrade that spawns you with a Bowie knife, which is a one-hit kill until round 10. The early rounds in this game are easy enough with the reduced zombie damage, and that Bowie knife only makes it easier. Sure, you could always spawn with a melee weapon that was just as effective, but at least that way you'd have to sacrifice a ballistic weapon in order to get it. For all of the flack that Vanguard Zombies gets, I will always praise it for trying to incorporate these upgrades into the gameplay rather than the menus. Although I did always think that it was bizarre that they added Zavala to Daron Fong. The types of enemies you encounter on a map are part of what makes each one unique, so adding new enemies to old maps kinda takes away from that variety. Plus, if you really don't like a certain type of enemy, like Zavala, then you shouldn't be forced to always play against them. Like, imagine if Ascension had come out, and then the Space Monkeys were suddenly added to 5 and Kino. That wouldn't be cool. But adding new content to the older maps has become commonplace in the recent years as Call of Duty goes in the live service direction. Since Black Ops 4, we can expect new weapons, perks, field upgrades, and equipment to be added into every map, rather than being restricted to the maps that they come out with. Though I suspect that the maps in these newer games were always intended to be played with all this post-launch content, so it probably counts more as finishing the game rather than changing it. But even before the live service days, Treyarch did occasionally add more content to their maps after they released. As early as 2011, they added Mule Kick to all of the Black Ops 1 maps after Moon had come out. I heard that this was an attempt to discourage people from using 3-gun glitches, but I'm not too sure how true that is. And as a side note, did anybody else think that their games were being hacked when they first saw Mule Kick on these other maps? I did. In Black Ops 3, the Death Machine power-up and several new Gobblegums were made available to use in every map. The RPK was added to most of the maps, and you could say that the 1911 was added to the Chronicles maps, but it's basically the same as the MR6, so I'm not really sure that it counts. And in Black Ops 2, there were several new perma-perks, some of which had game-breaking potential. You could kill zombies with just a touch, earn 300 extra points from a sniper kill, and even improve your luck from the box. But like every other perma-perk, they're all difficult to earn and easy to lose. So despite being so powerful, they were never around for long. Except for one, Perma Tombstone. This particular ability was released alongside Buried. It allowed you to keep all but one perk whenever you got revived, which is a pretty nifty ability. To earn it, one must fill all 4 of their perk slots by round 6 in 3 different matches, which is fine. I think it would have been better if it needed to be 3 matches in a row, especially with the bank being available, but it's alright. How you lose it, however, is the problem. As far as I can tell, there are 2 ways. The first is to purchase another perk on the same round of the same match that you earned the ability. I don't know about you, but for me, that round ended over 10 years ago. But there is also a way to lose it in a future match. You just have to have somebody else start a match of Buried, get the time bomb, join the match on any round other than round 1, have that other player place the time bomb, end the round so that you spawn in, activate the time bomb so that you go back to the round when you join the game, and then buy a perk. I think it goes without saying that this is an incredibly convoluted way of losing a perma-perk, and I honestly wonder if it's glitched, or if they just didn't want us to lose it at all. Its effect on the game is pretty drastic, giving you nearly permanent perks and making the game a lot easier. If it were easier to lose like every other perma-perk, then it would have been an awesome ability, but unfortunately that's just not the case. And unless you're like me and are going to go out of your way to get rid of it, then you're stuck with it. Of all of the changes that Treyarch has made to their games over the years, most of them are pretty good. Some annoy me, but I can tolerate them, but Perma Tombstone is easily my least favorite of them all. And it is the reason that I have been playing Black Ops 2 offline since 2013.